Standing Committee. It is 8:34, so we're going to get started and roll call, please.
Jennings. Thompson. Here. Turk. Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Severson.
Present.
And Fleming. You have 4 for a quorum, sir.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Item number 3, verification of open meetings law compliance. I didn't see it posted downstairs. Everything else is posted.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Wonderful. Item number 5, approval of agenda. We have an 11-point agenda. Looking for a motion to approve that agenda. Cosgrove and second by Thompson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Wonderful. Moving on. Approval of the minutes from January 2nd, 2026, right after New Year's Day. It's always a fun meeting. For motion to approve those minutes. Thompson, motion.
Second.
Second by Severson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, moving on. Item number 6, public comment. Any public comment, either online? Let's start with online. Any public comment from online? Hearing none, any public comment from the room? Public comment sheets here. Hearing none, moving on to reports. Sheriff Department activities and monthly bills.
So for the month of January, we had 48 bookings for the month. Average number of inmates housed is 37.43. We had 370 complaints for the month, 39 citations issued, 27 civil process papers served, 6 transports, and 2 on electronic monitoring. Number on electronic monitoring is 2. Dispatch activity, we had 614 calls for service, 75 calls for EMS, 145 calls for the police department, and 15 calls for the fire department.
So, and just as a update for everyone, calls for service means that a complaint was taken out. That's not, you get all kinds of calls,
Yeah.
but those are just calls that have required a contact of an officer or somebody or something.
Officer, EMS, somebody,
Right.
some sort of response.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and I always like the average number of inmates, 30.53. I always wonder who that 0.53 is, but I understand the average.
And I guess I would note, too, we have had a number of inmates recently housed out of county. We have 3 right now, 3 housed in Iowa County. We had as many as 4.
Because?
Overcrowding. We don't have the space to separate them by classification.
And what's the rate that's currently at?
60
a day.
a day. Plus med.
Exactly, all right. Okay. Questions on that report from anybody?
Questions on the bills?
Questions from the bills from anybody? Look those over.
I'm always very surprised. Amounts. They're for different things, but it's.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that, we can explain that?
No, a lot of things, but I look at like gas and stuff like that, but you guys are constantly driving.
Yeah,
You know,
yep.
constantly on the road. It's just when I see the dollar amount for gas, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no.
Okay, other questions on the bills? At this point, we really don't need a motion to accept the bills, but we appreciate you presenting them and showing them so we can see them and make sure we have a bunch of opportunity for that. Okay. Anything else, Sheriff, on department activities and bills?
Was it? We did, yeah, thank you, Aaron. We just purchased a new vehicle for the investigator, and then our 2 patrol vehicles are still on order. Working on getting quotes back for the upfitting. We have a quote, 1 bid back from a vendor, waiting on a 2nd bid, and then
We also have 1 squad that's at Wagner's, from
Cardiac.
cardiac damage, $9,000 damage to that one, so hopefully that one's fixed and ready to go, but right now we're running without any spares, so if something else happens, we're ready to start
Sharing cars
being
again.
creative again.
And that's a $5,000 deductible, if I'm correct?
I believe you're-
So no spares, vehicles on the way though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we still are without one of the F-150s that we had the engine issue, so that one's been just removed from our in-service vehicles, and we're looking to see what we can do with that one.
How many miles were on that?
There was 100 and, I think it was 117,000 on that truck before it went out of service.
Questions from the committee on the vehicles?
Just a quick question, $5,000 deductible?
Yeah.
Any county
Any kind of
vehicle.
vehicle. Yeah,
And as far for insurance wise, like pricing wise, it's not more cost effective to get a lower deductible? I mean, so.
yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't, that went up a while ago and I haven't really been part of that discussion at all, but
When Derek and I looked at rates for this year, yeah, we kind of looked into that a little bit.
Yeah, because you would think even just a little bit more paying insurance by getting a lower deductible, but stuff happens. You know, when hitting a $5,000 deductible.
I also think though, we also have the new car replacement or full car replacement under that policy as well, so if we total a car, the whole thing gets covered,
And not-
replacement.
and not just the whole thing, it's the vehicle and all of the equipment in the vehicle gets replaced. So anything that can't be salvaged is replaced. So that has actually come in handy for us. A couple of times we had a catastrophic car deer where like
Yeah,
the deputy hit the deer and then all the electronics, just the whole car went dark. And we ended up getting that. It was one of our canine vehicles. We ended up getting the whole thing replaced and all the equipment inside of it. Actually, twice recently I can think of in the last 10 years. We've had 2 complete vehicles replaced that way. So,
yeah, that's a nice feature. Would like that feature with a little less deductible.
Yeah,
yeah.
Health to risk. All right, any other questions on that? Sheriff, anything else in your reports?
Not for the monthly report.
Okay.
We can, yeah, we're ready to go into the next one.
All right, annual sheriff's office report.
All right, so just a kind of a quick overview staffing wise. So with including myself, we have 35 full-time people, 9 part-time, and then the department's pretty well split from there. 14 on patrol, 14 in the jail. We have 4 people in administration, the 3 of us here plus Lieutenant Mike says. And then we have 1 investigator and 2 office support staff help run the office for us. On the next slide, I talk about some of our specialized units. So we have a special response team. It's a combined team with the Richland Center Police Department, and we use them for more high-risk stuff, search warrants, barricaded subjects, that kind of stuff. Along with the special response team, we have TEMS. So we have a tactical EMS element of it. They're there. Their primary responsibility is for our people's safety. They're not necessarily there to treat people we're working on or that we're there dealing with. In the event that there was that need, they could do that, but their primary responsibility is keeping my staff safe. So on the next slide, I talk about our drone team. We currently have 2 drones and 5 pilots. We either have all 5 licensed now or we're darn close to that. We're missing 1 license on that, but they are working on those. And they can be used anywhere from crime scene, crash scene. You can see we have a picture from one of the Viola floods up there. There was a search and rescue that we went and assisted Vernon County at KVR. And then some other crime scene photo up there and a SRT training photo. So we probably will start utilizing them more now that we have more pilots. For a while, we just had 1 pilot and 1 person who was training but hadn't got his license yet. We use the fire department's drones quite a bit and looking to get into a situation where we're just using our own more. On the next slide, we have our canine units. So canine Aaron and Deputy Shiljan. So they've been on the road since 2022, and canine Raven and Deputy Isaac Gerber, they've been out since 2024. If you go to the next slide. We are part of a regional drug task force with Richland, Iowa, with Iowa and Grant County, and they do drug investigations. We only supply people to them on a part-time basis. We're the only county agency and one of few agencies that only supply a person or people part-time to the task force. Everybody else usually has somebody like full-time assigned to it. Again, it's funded by grants, seizures that we have, and the member agencies also contribute to funding it. And it's supported by SRT. A good number of the search warrants that SRT works on are lined up by Drug Task Force. That and the ICAC Task Force, which I'll talk about on the next slide. So some of the other additional assignments we have, like I just mentioned, the ICAC Task Force, Internet Crimes Against Children. That seems to be a growing thing that we're working on. I don't like to say it's growing, but it is. We seem to have a fairly regular amount of ICAC tips that are coming in and that our people are investigating. So, and that is also something that's been keeping our SRT busy as well, because when you execute a search warrant on somebody who's involved in that kind of thing, they generally don't want it to come out that they're looking into that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit more high emotions on that sort of stuff. Next, the peer support team. We currently have 2 people trained for peer support. You can go back up to that slide. And we're looking to expand that, and that is just how it sounds, peer support, looking to have more options, more outlets for our people to talk about the things they see on the job regularly, and kind of dealing with the stresses and emotions that come along with everything they deal with. And then we have our training team, training division, whatever you want to call it. We don't really have a formal name for it, but we have state certified instructors for firearms, EVOC, defensive tactics, vehicle context, and tactical response. So we do a fair amount of training in-house. We try to push for outside ideas and get people out to other trainings, but we do handle a lot of that core stuff in-house with our own instructors. You can go to the next slide. So looking at 2025 a little bit more, we handled just over 4,500 calls for service in 2025, and I do have some of the other years' numbers up there. But complaints, we had 4,531 complaints for the year. And by complaints, that's things that officers had to go out and handle. 534 citations, 6 warnings. We don't rate a lot of warnings. If you look at my monthly reports, a lot of times it says 0. That's
not to say they're not giving warnings, but most of them are probably verbal warnings versus written warnings.
Yeah. Civil process papers served, we had 221. Transports, 114, and I threw this in there to kind of go along with the citations, but 2,244 traffic stops. So if you look at our ratio to how many people we're stopping versus citations, we do a lot of traffic enforcement, but a lot of it is just verbal warnings, and we slow it down and send them on their way, kind of thing. But if you look compared to the years prior, we were down in citations. I was thinking why that was, because it's a pretty good number. I think 2024, actually, I know 2024 was one of the last years we had a BOTS speed enforcement grant that funds so we would have overtime shifts specifically for speed enforcement. And that was the last year we had a BOTS grant. And I also think we now have younger deputies who are getting a little more experienced, and you first get out on the road, you're really gung ho and you're writing all these citations. And then I think with a lot of people that kind of tapers off the longer they've been on the job. So I think you're seeing probably a culmination of we're not having that additional funding for traffic enforcement, and some of our younger staff are starting to, you know, they've been on the job a little bit longer now. Other than that, there was a bit of a dip in overall complaints that ebbs and flows throughout the years. It generally trends upward. If you look over a long period of time, it's generally has been trending upward, but there's kind of, you know, an ebb and a flow to it. So if you want to go to the next slide, I just have this year's a graph for this year's complaints versus the 5-year average. Like I said, we generally do trend upward. And then we have been trying to do a better job since probably 2021, I would say, of trying to better account for staff time and what people are doing instead of some of the smaller stuff that they might not have necessarily taken a complaint out for before. The general rule that I have for them is if you've had to spend time working on it, I want it documented. You know, you may not have to do this big lengthy report on it, but I want some sort of documentation that you were working on something. So that has also drove our complaints up a little bit. Go to the next slide. So this is just our highest volume call types. Like it says, most of our call stuff is service related, not necessarily criminal related. People just need some help with something, whether it be a welfare check or we help other agencies. Like you see, agency assist mutual aid calls is one of our highest ones, going and helping other people, helping other agencies, that is. And that could be fire, EMS, the city police department, one of our neighbors. That's what drives that call type. Paper service is our second highest at 413. UA testing. So we do, I would say, probably 98, 99% of the UA testing for treatment court. And that's not just patrol staff, the jail also does a good chunk of it. But we have been tracking how much we're doing for UA testing. Request for officer. This is kind of a coverall type thing. Somebody calls in, I want to talk to a deputy, or the dispatcher maybe doesn't quite know how to classify it. This is kind of the catch-all with this request for officer. Miscellaneous complaints, 228. Again, another catch-all. One thing I want to work on, I've talked with Devin about it, and we'll have talked with our patrol staff about it. I want to try and reduce the numbers on those, get them to more accurately, like, you know, assign it a different call type. Like, what does it sound like it is? And instead of relying so much on request for officer. Traffic hazards, suspicious persons, and citizen assist make up kind of the rest of that, those top call types. If you go to the next slide.
Quick, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
On that, just for clarification, on the UA testing, does that number include just sheriff's department or both jail and sheriff's department, that 250?
That's just the road.
That's just
That's
the
just
road
it.
route. So the jail is doing more. I shouldn't say the jail is doing more in the sense, I'm not exactly, they're doing additional. I'm not sure if they're doing more or less than the road. It's probably pretty close to even. Yeah. Community and welfare checks. So that's another all type, I would say, that takes up a bulk of what we do. Welfare checks, we had 157. Juvenile related incidents, we had 46. Domestic disturbances, 44. And then 40 plus for mental health related calls. To go along with that, so your juvenile related incidents and your mental health related calls, they also require a lot of cooperation with HHS. And so they kind of, in that sense, they're a little more complicated on their own anyway. And then you have to bring in another agency and work cooperatively with another agency. So they're a little more time intensive calls for us. Criminal offenses make up a small percentage of what we do, although a lot of times they're more involved in in-depth investigations. So although they're a smaller percentage of what we do, they take a lot more time than the other stuff. We'd go to the next.
Question, John, it's like,
Yeah.
where it says mental health, you've got 40+.
Yeah.
Is that adults only? Because a mental health for juvenile would be listed under the juvenile? Or is that?
No.
No matter the age?
So it depends on how the dispatcher assigns it. So the example would be a juvenile, we get a call about a juvenile who's suicidal. That might be put in as a suicidal and not a juvenile problem. So not necessarily are they, I would say a good chunk of the juvenile problems are probably individuals at group homes that we've had to go deal with.
I would say the bulk of like juvenile mental health stuff gets put under the mental health related.
Yeah. Yep.
So it'd be good if it'd be consistent so that
Yeah.
that this includes all mental health versus, or is it all juvenile, anything juvenile goes under juvenile, just for accurate comparison?
So in a good chunk of the data that I use for this is coming from our CAD system. So that's driven by how the data is entered, right? So if it, I get what you're
How the
saying,
calls coming in.
how the call's coming in and
Right.
then how the dispatcher assigns that CAD,
Mhm.
what the nature is, how they do all that stuff. So, so that's one thing that I'm not sure if we could find a way to get the system to separate that data, or we would maybe have to do it manually, but it could be done. It's just a matter of there's an easy button for it or not.
Thank you.
Yep. The next slide. So another large chunk of what we do is traffic related. So traffic accidents, we had 221 total, 127 car deers. And I'm not going to the next slide yet, but you'll see there's a bit of discrepancy between this slide and the next slide if you look at crashes, and I can explain why. Livestock on the roadway, 123 calls. Traffic hazards or violations, we had 247. And on the next slide, I have mapped out the 2025 crashes. So for total crashes, we had 298. So like I said on the slide before, there's a discrepancy between the numbers. That's because this is 298 crashes that we filled out a state crash report on. Not every crash we respond to requires a crash report. So the numbers are a little different. So mapped out on this, if you see red dots, unfortunately that was a fatal. Orange dots are serious injury. And then yellow dots and blue dots are also injury crashes. So it kind of goes fatal being the most serious, orange, yellow, blue. Green dots are property damage crashes. So that's all of our 2025 crashes plotted out over the map.
That tells a lot. It's good.
Going to move to the next slide. Just some crash data, and I do have more data. If somebody's interested in this, I do have more of this data broke down that I can share. This is just what I kind of threw into the slides. And so this is our 2025 crashes in dark blue compared to the 5-year average in light blue. So 167 injury crashes, 119 no injury. We had 22 possible injury, 13 minor injury, serious injury we had 9, and fatals we had 4.
Doesn't it say 5 on the
It
previous?
does say 5. I'm not sure why it says 4 because it is 5. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, it should say 5. All right. And on the next slide, it has driver behavior. I want to point something out on this slide because it has 2 age groups as driver behavior. It's kind of just maybe poorly labeled because where this data is pulled from is our crash reports. So all those crash reports go to the state. They pull all this data from them. So you have 65 plus driver and teen driver in there. It's not necessarily driver behavior. It's just where they put it in their data. But if you look, we have aggressive driving is down a little bit. Speed is down, and I would say I'd probably attribute that to we're still coming out of multiple years of traffic speed grants. And so we were doing a lot of speed enforcement, and I think that kind of leads into why we aren't getting those grants right now, is because the data is showing it was working, so we'll spend the money elsewhere. So, yeah, that was pretty much, bots has an algorithm as to who gets their data and don't fit that anymore. So, impaired driving is down a little and distracted driving is down a little. So all good things.
So if you're successful, you get penalized.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know what all goes into the algorithm. I've heard, if you spend all your money every year, year after year, then you kind of look less likely to get it in future years. But I do know they look at this crash data pretty heavily in making these decisions. So, and if you want to go to the next slide, I'll turn it over to Devin. He's got some jail and dispatch stuff for us.
You can go down to the next one, please. So this kind of breaks down a little bit what Bob was talking about. So calls received versus calls for service that are handled. So 911 calls, I won't go through every month, but so for the year of 2025, we received 3,840 911 calls and an average of 10 a day. Those were answered on an average within 3 seconds. And then non-911 calls, we received 50,027 and 44 on average a day. And then, so total, we received 53,867 calls in the year of 2025. An average of 84, that's the average duration, so an average of 85 seconds. And then, so that's how many calls we received. And then the calls for service, the complaints, we created 8,640 complaints for service for all those different agencies, so law, EMS, and fire. Of that, we served 4 different law enforcement agencies, 12 different EMS agencies, and 9 different fire agencies. Any questions on that? Go to the next one. On the jail side of things, for the year of 2025, we had a total of 628 bookings. 440 of those were males, 188 were females. And just a FYI, so of that number, so of the 628, 197 of those were repeat bookings, so our frequent flyers. So, we had a total of 431 individual people that were booked in, but some multiple times. Any questions on that date? And then we have on there just a couple of other exciting things that we had happen in 2025. We implemented an RFID cell check and logging system in the jail, which has been really, really great. We did that in December. We went live with that, and it just allows us to be a lot more accurate with our logging. And then we also got a functioning camera system in the jail and the courthouse. So that has been also great. The next slide. So the average daily population, I kind of touched on this for the month of January, but for 2025, our average was 20 people total, 16 males and 4 females. We had an average of less than 1 that were housed in other facilities and an average of 5 that were out on EMP. And then we had an average of 0.5 for working papers. Then the EMP summary, that's our electronic monitoring. So we had a total profit of $39,765. We had 34 different people who were placed out on electronic monitoring throughout the year and a total of 2,007 days. That's all I have.
Actually, now that we're through that, I was just thinking too, I do have some data, just comment on it a little bit, but, I did run a report on like what our busiest days was. Anybody have a guess on what our busiest days were in 2025?
Wednesday.
Like a weekday, day of week,
Tuesdays.
close. I think it was Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday was our highest call day for the year. And then your timeframes were like that 3 to 6, 3 to 7 timeframe in the evening. Yep. But yeah, it wasn't, the weekends weren't far behind, but yeah, it was in the middle of the week, it felt.
Interesting.
So, and then the next couple of slides I have are just, kind of go into some of the things that, we've done as a department and our staff has done, throughout 2025. So, some of you may remember we got some opioid settlement funds awarded to us, and that for the purpose of starting a DARE program. So we were previously a Counteract, program department. Counteract kind of went bankrupt or fell apart a few years ago now. We had actually just still been using the old materials and so finally we were able to fund and send Deputy James Tucker we went to Minneapolis for 2 weeks. And became DARE certified. And he is currently teaching DARE at the schools, as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but Mondays during the week, he's up there teaching DARE. So, and it's been going well. On the next slide, we had a team that we put together along with the police department for the Race for Grace. And we also, I think the next slide might be National Night Out. So that we've been doing since 2021, I believe, was our first national night out that we had here in Richland County. It's always been a big success and a lot of fun for us and I think the community. On the next slide, we do canine demonstrations, whether they go, one of these, the one with the kids down below, that was Parks and Rec thing that we went and did during the summer in the city. And then we go to do various demonstrations, whether it be a 4-H club, a school class. We'll probably do something with DARE possibly, but we do canine demonstrations throughout the year. And then some of the other events we did Cops on a Rooftop for the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics. So that was a fun morning at Dunkin' Donuts. We had some people that just kind of rotated through and volunteered their time and went and did that. And then also Shop with a Cop we did in early December along with the police department. I did forget about Cops and Bobbers. We did have people that assisted with Cops and Bobbers in the city last year. So yeah, we tried and get out and have some good positive community engagement as well. Any questions? That pretty well wraps it up. And the last slide, I just had the department mission. Yeah, any questions?
Questions from the committee? First of all, thank you for doing an annual report. I think probably the first one I've seen in decades. Other than previous ones.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that, and it's good to see the commission. So, any questions from the committee? Hearing none, thank you very much. Moving on to the coroner report. Anything from the coroner? See anything come through this time? Did you guys see anything?
They haven't been coming to me lately, so.
Okay, I didn't see anything on, usually I get an email.
Oh, there is one there is one as
What
well.
did I miss?
Yep.
Right past that, my hair. Oh, I'm going to take your word for it because I'm not reading up my. Coroner's report. All right, so there is a report in the packet. So is there available for you? Does the committee have any questions on that? Questions from the committee? Hearing none, moving on then to item D, Circuit Court Judge.
Not too much for this month. Judge McDougall is out of the office on a well-deserved time away today. So this month we were working on preparing and attending the facilities committee. So that was kind of outside of the normal workload. That was one thing that I spent a little extra time on. I just wanted to thank Trish for meeting with us on that and kind of helping us through that process. So that was, if there's any questions on that, we continue to work on the security. The one question I did have, I know to the facilities committee, Trish had provided the Supreme Court rule, which I think has been provided to this committee as well. So we continue to review that. We continue to meet with the courthouse security meetings on a quarterly basis. And then I didn't know, has this committee ever received the report from Tammy Johnson? Trish, are you aware of?
I don't know if they have.
I don't think we have.
Okay, and so that was supplied to the facilities committee in a confidential way so that
Right.
it did not expose our vulnerabilities to the courthouse, into the building. I didn't know if we could request that that also be provided in a confidential way to this committee.
Is that more facilities focused? Is that, I guess the question is because of the sensitivity of it, is there information in there that would be useful here, or is that more focused towards facilities so we don't have that confidentiality question breakout?
I guess, I would look to others. So part of it is education and awareness since this is our committee. And so that was my thought on this. Was just to be, we have that information, we have that report, and as a committee, I was thinking that, we don't want that out in the packet to, again, expose our vulnerabilities. But I do feel like it would be valuable for this committee to see that possibly as well, if it could be presented in a confidential way.
I think that'd be a good idea. I'd like to go over that document with you or someone to pull those critical pieces of information out and make sure that we have the other items contained. That works? That would work? Okay. We'll plan on that.
So having said that, we continue to try and make improvements with the facility and the resources that we have. And that is both in the courtroom, in the judges' chambers, in the hallways, in the exits. All of those things continue to be looked at. So that has been our facilities and improvements has been some of the main focus. In addition, I get to the judges' workload, but it's really giving some extra time to that in the last few months.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I kind of tied, the courthouse security reports kind of goes hand in hand with that. But that's some of the things so I had been working with John Heinen at the end on his IPP accomplishments and reports. So just under courthouse security, some of the things that we have reduced some of the public access to parts of the courthouse. We reduced some hours of access to parts of the courthouse. So some of them, the access has been now, doesn't open until like 7:45 instead of maybe quite so early. Like Devin mentioned, we've added cameras to areas in the courthouse, including the lobby, waiting areas, and exits in the courthouse. There has been reduced visibility to some of the windows in the courthouse for safety reasons. And then we have the continued training taking place. We have monthly checks of the duress alarms. That's something that the sheriff's department does, but that's a security thing that is done monthly to make sure that that those are working. There was access to a door was restricted more. and as you know, we brought the metal detector from Iowa County, so we got experience using that and exposing staff to that, the possibilities of future purchase possibly. So just that continued information, awareness, and education on improving our facility. So that's kind of my courthouse report.
That's perfect. Perfect. Questions from the committee? It's good to see pieces of things moving forward on a regular basis, so. Questions from the committee on either courthouse security or circuit judge? Hearing none, moving on then. Thank you. Clerk of court. The clerk of court has supplied a number of documents in the folder, so we can look those over. Hope you've had time to. If you have any questions on those, her budget information is there. And she did send an email that she's gone this week, so I appreciate her getting the information to us.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
You will notice, unfortunately, I labeled the clerk report item 7E. So if anybody's looking in the packet, the 7E items are report. They should have been
okay.
7F.
All right, very good. No, is noted. Thank you. All right, any questions on the clerk of court information? All right, we will move on then to register and probate.
So I intend next month to include more information on finalizing the final numbers of the 2025 budget. But things are still coming in and still being journal transferred and things. And so it's still, to give you the most accurate picture, I thought next month that information would be included and kind of where we ended up more for 2025. I do anticipate still that both the judge's budget and the register and probate judge will be under budget. That's my anticipation for ending up 2025 as we get these final bills in and entered. But so everything looks good that way. I'm kind of excited to announce that our register and probate office recently got painted. I know that seems like a little thing, but it's a morale booster and it's much brighter in our office. And so that had not been done in, I'll just leave it at many years. So very happy to have that. So through our maintenance department, we continue to try and make, again, small improvements within the facility. So.
Excellent. Excellent. Good to hear it.
The rest of it has just been continuing on with keeping things going.
Very good. Any questions for the register and probate? Hearing none, moving on to the district attorney. Anything not here today, but hearing nothing from the district attorney, moving on to ambulance service. Barbara.
So I handed out, and I do see that it's updated here, quick report for ambulance service. There are calls for January of 26 compared to January 25. And we're actually down, which is good. We like it when people aren't needing our services. The reason that it's down, I can't tell you. Just a better year this year, I guess. It'll average out, always does, but we did have a little bit of a decrease. Ambulance expenses, this is literally just ambulance maintenance. It's not the expenses of the department. The maintenance for these, it's very interesting to look. 33 for the whole year of 2025 was 5,478. In 2026, it's 5,746. We had a friendly critter jump in front of it, and that's our deductible and the things we did not charge that to insurance. All of the billing went just through the ambulance. 34 is currently out of service. There'll be a new bill next month. There's an oil leak and they had to actually tear down the engine to find it. So expenses will be up for that next year, and 35 hasn't had any yet. Employees, we had 3 AMT temp casuals resign recently. A lot of these were ones that came on board when we were in crisis. They came back because I asked them to, and they were doing me a favor. They just, for their own personal reasons, have gone. They pretty much told me when we come back, it's a temporary thing to help you out till you can get on your feet, which they did, and I'm very grateful for all of them. Then we have hired 3 temp casual EMTs. Two of them were with the services drivers before and have just gotten their license, and now we're moving them up. The other one is a new employee from the outside. And we've hired 1 temp casual AEMT who hasn't started yet, but she'll be coming on board soon. We have 2 new drivers. One, our other driver did also come up to paid on call EMT that passed our class. January collections this is not necessarily all from January. These are the actual collections from our billing agency. So these may have been from a long time ago, but as we receive them, it was 47,746.44, which is up a little bit from our.
Any idea how far back those bills, like a year?
They go back to 2025, beginning of.
Okay, so up to a year back, making collections on. Yes,
What's the outstanding collectibles? Just a ballpark.
I can, hold on one second, just take a second to pull that sheet up. This is something we've been working extremely hard on. Just gonna find the site. Because we are switching billing companies. And so what I certainly have from my billing company for ending AR is 236,769, and that goes back to the beginning of January 25.
And so switching to another one again?
Yes, we're going to EMSMC. We vetted them. We looked at proposals from 2 different companies plus the current one. I've been doing a lot, like more than I should have to with the billing company, going back over bills that were never submitted. They weren't submitting to Medicaid, and even trying to get things straightened out with them. We've given them lots of opportunity. They're not, their part of the contract isn't being upheld. So
What's
it's,
gonna happen with the last 3?
yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the past. I just know that this one's been.
Well, hopefully we finally get one that does everything that it should. That'll help the
That's
situation.
our hope.
okay, any other questions? Anything else, Barb?
No.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, appreciate the update. Emergency management, Don is not here right now.
John is done. His last day was on January 31st. He stayed on for the month of January to work 1 day a week to close out 2 out of the 3 grants that we have. Third one, the state and the federal government are disagreeing on how the funds can be used. So until that gets resolved, we can't close out that 2025 grant. Josh has been appointed as a new emergency management director. He's
Josh Elder.
Josh Elder, yeah, sorry. He has been learning the program, meeting with Darren Gudgeon, meeting with community partners. We did post the job. We only received 1 application. Part of the reason we think is because some of our job posting processes have changed. And so we are going to be looking at expanding how we post some of our jobs in the future. And we're also going to be reviewing that job description because we want to make sure that whoever applies for it understands what the role is of the job.
Okay. Any questions on that? Changes going on there? Thank you very much. Hearing none, moving on from emergency management to the PSAP NG 911 GIS grants. Anything new with that?
So we actually had a meeting this week, about the NG 911 grant, so we're starting to get that, compiled for what we're gonna submit for, cause I think that's due the 28th of this month, 26th, 28th. And then for the PSAP grant, I can't remember the last update we gave, but we were approved for our initial, requests, so we've been working on that. That includes, a remodel in the dispatch center, so we've been working hard on that.
Grant funded remodel.
Yeah.
We're paying for it off our cell phones at 75 cents is where that funding's coming from to make these things happen. So I'm glad you're using it. So thank you very much. Anything else on that? Hearing none, radio tower update. Ta-da.
Good news on the radio tower project. So Wednesday, my office went live on the new radio system. So we're the only agency using it currently. But we're doing that 30-day burn-in. We started on Wednesday. And other than some initial hiccups when we switched over and patched the old channel and the new channel together, things have been going smooth. They've been going great, and I've been getting good feedback from the deputies who are on it that they like it. I stopped in yesterday evening to meet with the night shift crew and talked with them for a while. And they were talking about how they were up in Cass or they were up in Bunker Hill, and they're hearing everything clearly, which was sometimes was difficult on a squad radio, and they're hearing it clearly on a handheld. So they're pretty excited. But yeah, I've been getting good feedback, and the system seems to be working as designed.
I think the one phrase that you mentioned was something about this magic.
What is this magic?
What is this magic? That was crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's, but no, it seems to be going good. There's still some things kind of on the back end or behind the scenes that is going on with the project, crossing some T's and dotting some I's, but we are live on the system. Hoping maybe we can start bringing maybe the police department over once they can get a reprogram done on their equipment. And then we'll continue that 30-day burn before we bring anybody on. I know that some of the fire departments in the area have been getting pagers reprogrammed and stuff like that, starting that reprogramming stuff on their end. But I think we're gonna wait. We're gonna go through this 30-day burn, make sure there aren't any hiccups or anything that we're not seeing, and then we'll start bringing the other agencies on.
How is dispatch handling transition? It's good to hear the road officers, but the communication side is really the heart. How are they handling that?
It's so far so good. I mean, it's actually going to simplify things a lot for dispatch once we're fully live on it. We won't have to be switching towers for all the different fire and EMS agencies and sheriff.
Yeah.
It'll just be one channel, which is welcome.
Okay, all right.
But it sounds great. It's been
Okay, because that's the center of everything. I want to make sure that.
Yeah, so, and I guess I can talk on that. So last week, we went out and did DAQ testing. So they went to 72 different sites throughout the county, trying to get access inside of buildings, but not every building we stopped at was open or available. But where they went and with a handheld radio, tried to use the system from inside these buildings. If we weren't able to get into the building, a lot of times what they did is they just did the test from inside the car, try and simulate some sort of interference with the signal. And we actually had very good results from that as well. So that was the kind of our last check before we started this 30-day burn. And then we just wanted to make sure, is our recorder going to record everything when we turn on the new channel? And then there were some other odds and ends we had questions about that we needed to get answers. So once we had those answers, we switched it on and went with it.
Very good. Any questions on that? Good to hear it's running, working. All right. Hearing nothing else with that, item number 8, discussion and possible action, recognition of John Heinen for his years of service to Richland County. Please.
So this is something that I requested to have on the agenda and placed on the agenda. John Heinen gave us his notice and said he was going to be done at the end of 2025. Like I said, he worked a little bit extra in 2026 to help wrap up some of the grants. But John has been a very integral part of emergency management since 1998 in one way, shape, or form. Typically with these longstanding employees, we do a resolution. Our rules of the board do not allow that, given he wasn't a county employee and he wasn't WRS retirement eligible. Those are kind of the guidelines that had been previously set forth. So I wanted to just lay this out in an agenda item cover and really say thanks to John for all his work for us. You know, he really spent a lot of time on COVID, on the floods that we have had, tornado in Viola, Ebola at one point in time. So just wanted to really make note of all that he has done for the county over the years.
So is there something we can do certificate wise? I'd like this committee to approve this. I think that's important to identify that, something we can do certificate wise to get that. All right, so I guess I'm looking for then a motion to, for this action to recognize John for that. Motion by Fleming, second by Cosgrove. All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, thank you. And you took care of that. John put a lot of years in help out for the county. Correspondence. No correspondence. Future agenda items. All right, so I'm going to say that we, just as a notice, we have a notice of jail inspection. Please be advised that a quorum of the Public Safety Standing Committee may be present for the annual jail inspection, which will occur immediately following the adjournment of the February 6, 2026 Public Safety Standing Committee meeting. A quorum may be present at other committees, boards, and commissions. No committee, board, commission shall exercise any responsibility, authority, or duties during the jail inspection. So right after this meeting, we will be having a jail inspection. Which shed we meet?
So just we'll meet in the sheriff's office lobby right by the jail.
Right downstairs, and then we'll do the annual jail inspection as required by this committee. Any questions on that? Hearing none. No future agenda items. Item number 11, adjournment. Looking for a motion to adjourn by Fleming. Motion by Fleming, second by Thompson. All in favor, say aye. Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Anyone opposed? All right. Jail meeting downstairs. Thank you, Carrie, for coming online. Thank you, all members and everybody in the audience for being here today.